You are a legionary. You are the weapon of the greatest empire the world has ever known. But here, in the silent, oppressive forests of Caledonia, modern-day Scotland, you are the prey. You are following your centurion, and at some point, you can no longer hear the steady march of the 5,000 men behind you. You turn around, and there is nothing but a wall of gray, impenetrable fog. Your brothers, your legion, simply gone. To understand what happened in that fog, you first need to understand what Rome lost. This wasn't just about 5,000 lives, it was about a symbol. Imagine if today an entire aircraft carrier strike group vanished from the grid without a trace. It's more than a military loss. It's a blow to the myth of invincibility. That was the 9th Spanish Legion to Rome. These weren't rookies. They were the descendants of the men led by Julius Caesar himself, the greatest general in Roman history. For 200 years, they were the hammer that forged an empire. If they could vanish, then anyone was vulnerable. They marched north from their fortress at Eboracum, now the English city of York, and dissolved into history. What happened to them? Modern analysis offers several versions, and each one, like in a good detective story, deserves our full attention. The first version is the most obvious: a slaughter. But this wasn't a battle, it was a hunt. The Roman army was a perfect machine, built for order, for open fields where the wall of shields was unbreakable. But here, in the Caledonian forest, chaos was king. The local Pictish tribes didn't fight by the rules. They turned the forest itself into a weapon. They didn't hit the front of the column. They hit its stretched, vulnerable center. A short, brutal attack from the trees, and then they would melt back into the fog. This was a war of attrition on the nerves, where every snap of a twig behind you could be your last. In this hell, discipline, Rome's greatest weapon, became their curse. But if it was a slaughter, then where is the evidence? Where is the crime scene? A battle of this scale means tons of metal, thousands of broken swords, shields, spearheads. Archaeologists have scoured the north of Britain, so where is it all? Why does the earth still keep its silence? What if the enemy wasn't in front of them, but behind them, in Rome? Imagine an endless guerrilla war. Every day, 3 men lost. Every week, 10. Disease, desertion. The legion ceased to be a legend. It became an expensive, bleeding wound. In 122 AD, the new Emperor Hadrian arrives in Britain. He was a pragmatist, and he sees that the ninth is no longer a hammer, but a liability. Perhaps he was the one who gave the order. The remnants of the ninth were quietly disbanded. The soldiers were transferred to other units, sworn to secrecy. And the number 9 itself was simply erased from the army lists. They didn't destroy the legion, they canceled it. And here is the main piece of evidence. Immediately after his visit, Hadrian orders a colossal construction project, a wall, Hadrian's Wall, 117 kilometers of stone from sea to sea, a wall that effectively screams, "We go no further." So what is this wall? A border? Or is it the world's largest tombstone, built to hide a secret the empire wanted to bury forever? But what if the crime scene is a decoy? What if they survived? For a long time, this was just a fantasy, but in the 20th century, in the Dutch city of Nijmegen, archaeology broke the silence. A roof tile stamped with the insignia of the 9th Spanish Legion. Dating showed it was made after 120 AD, long after the legion was supposedly wiped out. This piece of evidence sparked a new, daring theory. The battered but not broken legion was quietly withdrawn from Britain and transferred to a calmer frontier on the Rhine River. It elegantly explains everything: their disappearance from British records, which were kept by the great historian Tacitus, and the lack of bodies. But then, why are the records so silent? Perhaps the transfer was so humiliating for the once elite unit that it was simply never mentioned. A brutal ambush, a cold political calculation, or a quiet exile. 3 versions, dozens of clues, and not a single final answer. The 9th Spanish Legion remains a cold case. One of the most famous unsolved mysteries in human history. Its fate is not just a puzzle. It's a chilling reminder that even the greatest empires, the most invincible armies, can simply be erased from the map, swallowed by the fog. And the only thing they leave behind is a question that echoes through the centuries. How could this happen? The case of the 9th Legion is closed for now. But in the heart of the empire itself, another fire was smoldering. A story of a man who turned from a slave into a legend, and an army of the oppressed that brought the world's greatest power to its knees. Our next investigation: Spartacus.